Hello, Virgo. Welcome to your Gemini season ahead reading. Um, I've just come back from a break. I've been recording horoscopes for the last couple of hours, but I needed to pause and eat lunch because it's hard to concentrate and certainly hard to try and channel a reading when you're hungry. And I thought I'd share this with you because it seems like a good place to start with what Gemini season is bringing in for you. So with that, I'm going to share my screen so that we can hang out with this chart together. I'm reading for Virgo identified folks. This is a solar chart reading, which puts Virgo in the first place of identity. This definitely aligns for Virgo risings, but I want to say that this is also for any Virgo placements, especially the luminaries, the sun and the moon, which are deeply important places. And when Western astrologers give horoscope readings, they're giving sun sign readings. We are giving sun sign readings or solar readings, but this reading is for the light of Virgo. And so any parts of your chart that resonate with this light hopefully can receive something of substance. Take what works, leave the rest. Not everything is for everyone. Virgo, Gemini season is resonating with a really important part in your chart. Now, Gemini is a sibling sign for you as one member of the mutable quartet. Virgo, Gemini, Pisces, and Sagittarius are all mutable energies. And your energetic superpowers are to mutate, to adapt, evolve, change, refine, and otherwise bring different pieces of puzzles together. Now, I'm going to get into Gemini in a moment, but I actually want to first give a nod to Taurus, which is the season that we're coming out of. And as we begin Gemini season, it's where your planetary ruler, or I don't know, trying to disrupt patriarchy in my language. So your planetary emissary, Mercury, who's at home in Virgo, and Gemini, so very important when we're thinking about both of these signs to consider Mercury. Mercury is in Taurus as we begin Gemini season. So why did I tell you that I just ate lunch? Why did I say that it's hard to think and even harder to sense, right? And to be in a kind of like transmission download space if one is hungry? Well, Mercury represents the mind and perceptive, cognitive capacities. Mercury is also a shapeshifter. Mercury moves between the lower and the upper worlds, the worlds of the living and the dead, the worlds of living, of sleeping and waking. In astrology, Mercury is super important. Mercury is actually considered to be one of the most important planets when we're thinking about what astrology is, because astrology is a codex. It is a symbolic language that has been developed literally since human beings started developing civilizations. It is a collaborative project. Anybody who's an astrologer is working in generational time and ancestral collaboration. We are people who are constantly doing the work of shifting in between the the conscious and the superconscious, the unconscious and the conscious, right? We're trying to go back and forth between symbolic creative substance and practical reality and material existence. And Mercury is a really important planet for you. And if you happen to be a Gemini rising, it's your chart ruler. Any of your Gemini placements always have to be talking to Mercury. And Virgo's association with Mercury is a direct nod to Virgo's intelligence. All the signs have their own intelligence. Virgo has a really particular kind of intelligence. And I like to think of Virgoan intelligence as the intelligence of the earth itself, as Earth organizes its own creativity. And you go out into a natural setting, right, where humans have not oppressed the landscape. And what you'll see is an abundance of different life forms and tiny little different ecosystems, all kind of doing their own thing together. And nature is like this, right? Like nature is messy in a really organized way. You go into a forest and, nature is not out there vacuuming up the leaves that have fallen, right? Trying to clean up the dirt of the forest floor. Everything is important. And the way that the leaves are falling onto the ground, where some human beings might see that and think, oh, that's a mess, that's really important because the leaves, as they decompose, become fertilizer for the soil and food for the trees that make the forest. Um, the intelligence of natural systems, and your body is a natural system. Your home, your innate beingness is a natural system. So this is your intelligence. This is everybody's intelligence. The intelligence of natural systems is to work in collectivism, to work in symbiosis and reciprocity, and also to work locally and globally at the same time, right? So again, the earth is covered in multitudinous ecosystems. The earth thrives with biodiversity. All of the different life forms on earth ideally are busy being themselves, right? It's like human consciousness is the only consciousness on earth that is busying itself trying to oppress other consciousnesses. The other consciousnesses that are out there, even if they're predatory, they're not out trying to homogenize the entire world, right? Like they are just doing their own thing. They're in their beingness. And something about this beingness is really calling me as I begin this reading for you. And because I work in the realm of symbolism, and I think, when we're doing the work of symbolic interpretation, we really have to recognize that anything that's happening around the reading is part of the reading. So the fact that I felt after my last reading, I got to get up and eat because I'm feeling like I can't concentrate and really be present. That is part of your reading. And the feeling that I had while I was sitting and eating, I went outside, I absorbed some sunlight, I listened to the chimes hanging from my back porch. I enjoyed my food. And I also was multitasking a little bit. I'll admit I didn't do the thing that you're supposed to do, or I don't know who says this. The infamous they say, like, you shouldn't multitask while you eat, right? Better for digestion to just pause and be with your food. And I would definitely agree with that, actually, and I would hope that you would do that over the course of Gemini season. I'll get there in a second, but it is really important for you right now to be present in your body and to be giving yourself space and time in presence, because you got a lot that you're trying to do. And the more that you are present with your body, the more effective you are with what you're trying to do. But I was multitasking, and I was multitasking though in a way that made me happy. Like I was connecting with people who I care about, who I also work with, who help me and I help them. And our working relationships are actually really joyful. They feel really friendly. So I got to eat lunch and continue working, but it didn't feel like I was grinding. It felt like I was sitting, enjoying the sunlight, and also in this kind of like dance of collaboration. And then coming back, I felt more present. And when I pulled up your chart, I was like, oh, this is the vibe. Okay, all of this is getting me to where I wanted to get to, which is your reading. So this has all been the reading, but here we go. Gemini season. Gemini holds the heaven of your chart. This is the highest point in the astrology chart. This is the point of your ascendance. This is what you are growing towards, reaching towards, and becoming. Gemini is a social sign. Gemini multitasks. Gemini is another kind of intelligence in nature. Where Virgo is speaking to the intelligence of the substance of the earth, Gemini is speaking to the intelligence, okay? The intelligence that's already here, the intelligence that saturates earth beings, the breath. Gemini is an air sign. Everything on life is sharing, inspiration, and respiration. Your inhalations are your plant friends' exhalations. Your exhalations are their inhalations. You exist for each other, literally. And a fallacy, right, of like the current paradigm of human existence and modernity is individualism. Like it's such a violence upon our imagination, right? Like it's so horrible to plant these ideas in somebody's mind that you could do something alone, which isn't to say you can't go and do things alone. It's not to say like you can't go out, and prove yourself in some way. I think it's important for individuated beings to feel their own empowerment. But nobody is going to feel empowered in a vacuum, right? Like to even go do something alone, you are in relationship, you know? If you're going to go off and say like go on an adventure by yourself and you're like, I'm going to go, travel alone, or I'm going to start this business alone, or I'm going to separate from this relationship and go live alone. It's like, okay, you're differentiating somewhere, you're separating and individuating in some ways so that you can go be in a relationship in other ways. And that might be in deeper relationship to your own solitude. But then what happens in solitude? That's a deepening of relationship with spirit. That's a deepening of relationship with your capacity to listen, which is going to lead you to what? Maybe it's going to give you more time to read. Then you're going to be in deeper relationship with authors. Maybe it's going to give you more time to listen to music. Then you're going to be in relationship to the musicians and composers. Maybe you're just going to sit and be and enjoy the fucking silence outside. Guess what? You're in communion. So there's this feeling of like, you are in a path right now. And the ninth house where your buddy Mercury is packed. There's a lot that's going on. Taurus season has been full, right? As an energetic quality, Taurus season is very full. It has been full of a lot of change. And in your chart, this change is rippling out in the ways that you want to orient towards your path in the world. This feels like a season that is full of inspiration for you. It's full of potentials and potentiality and possibilities. It's also full of disruption. It is full of opportunities for you to change your habits, get out of your stagnancy, try new things. And in that, there's inevitably always some kind of risk. There's also disruption around, I'm going to say, like your notions of self, right? Who you think you are and what your purpose is here. And a lot of you are needing to unwind some aspects of your sense of purpose from certain ways of relating and maybe from certain people or situations. But the unwinding isn't from relationship itself. It's from ways of being in relationship that I'm going to say are codependent and disempowered. We are interdependent for sure, but codependency in the way that I mean it right now, it would have you taking on responsibility for other people that's honestly their responsibility. It would have you, whatever. It's like doing the labor of somebody who can do it very well for themselves, but you're doing it for some reason. Who knows why? But it's like that's not working for you anymore. It may be that you are feeling codependent, that you feel like, oh, you can't survive, you can't thrive in a world without this person or without this idea of this kind of relationship or something like that. That is being significantly disrupted for you now. It has been in a process of disruption, like your ideas of relationship have been in a process of disruption for a minute. But I'm going to say, especially for the last year and some change, like think back to last March of 2023. Since then, there's been a real push. Like, you need different boundaries, you need different expectations, you need different agreements around the exchange. And as we move into Gemini season, something is landing for you. I think about resourcing yourself so that you can do what you want to be doing with your time, with your energy, and with your life. and you want to be in exchange, but you want to be in exchange in different ways. And so the feeling is like, what are you eating? I mean that as an actual question because what you eat is what you are. You know, it's like what you eat really affects how you feel and how you think and therefore how you relate. But I also mean that as a metaphor. What are you consuming? What are you giving your brain power to? What are you opening space for in your consciousness? And then who and what are you inviting in to occupy that space? Are you listening when you're hungry? That's a metaphor and an actual question. Are you listening when your body is telling you, I need this, or I don't need that? I want it like this, not like that. There's a lot of awakening for you right now, I think, in the realm of material intelligence. First and foremost, in your body as a material, corporeal vessel of intelligence, your body as a living archive of ancestral wisdom, right? Did you teach your heart how to beat? No, your heart knew how to beat, right? Did you teach your toenails how to grow? No, they're just doing it on their own. Your body knows how to do things. Your body knows what it needs. Your body is highly intelligent. All kinds of cultural programming have been injected into your body. And this is coming from everywhere, right? It's coming from family, it's coming from relationships, it's coming from the media, it's coming from the government, it's coming from all different directions. And there's all kinds of programming trying to get inside your body and tell you what you want and should need. It's trying to get in your body and tell you what you're hungry for. I mean, it's so absurd sometimes. I don't watch TV a lot, but when I do, I'm like, oh my God, the messaging is so intense. I mean, they're like hitting us over the head with just obscene messaging, right? Like telling people in subtle and not so subtle ways that they are not enough unless they buy this thing or buy that thing. And then we do that to each other, you know, cultures do that to individuals, relationships do that to the members of the relationship. It's like there's so much programming out there that you need to be like this or want that in order to be loved, in order to belong, in order to survive. And most of it is bullshit. Most of it is lies. And you are in a moment of your life right now, and it's not starting as we get into Gemini season, it's fully underway. You are in a moment right now where you are radically more discerning about what is lies and what is truth. And your body is giving you this information. Material intelligence, the earth around you, your body's relationality is giving you this information. That feels good. That doesn't feel good. Are you listening to your body is the question, right? Are you listening? When your body says that feels good, that doesn't feel good, are you paying attention? Or are you continuing to just go on with the usually scheduled programming and think that you know better than your body, think that your brain knows better than your body? So we have to come into a body-mind synthesis. And I think that this is a lot of what you are doing right now. I think that Gemini season in its entirety is a season that is opening up a lot of pathways for you. As we get into Gemini season, we actually have the planet Jupiter, and you can see Jupiter right now up at the top of your chart here, very close to the sun. We have the planet Jupiter moving into Gemini on the 25th of May. Just 2 days after this full moon, we have a full moon in Sagittarius, really turning the volume up on the mutable cross. So the first week of Gemini season there's a lot of amplification in parts of your chart that really have a lot to do with growth potential. And as Jupiter comes into your solar 10th house, it's going to hang out here for a year, for a little over a year, until June 10th of 2025. And Jupiter serves and supports growth. Jupiter is the emissary, the planetary natural resident of Sagittarius and Pisces. So the other two zodiac signs that in the mutable cross. And these places in your chart are highly relational. So Sagittarius has a lot to do with home and family and people that you might resonate with as kin. Kin don't have to be blood related, right? Like it's it's wild how estranged we can feel from our actual biological family. And there are a lot of people out there who really feel a lot more sense of belonging with people that they, meet later in life or something like that. And that sense of belonging will always speak back to the original experience, the origin experiences. So home and family are a place that these are notions, these are concepts and feelings and sensations that are asking to be evolved as we move into Gemini season. And the feeling that I get for you is that you are supported to bring yourself forward in the world as you establish and spread out in spaces of belonging. Jupiter is the natural ruler of the 7th house with Pisces here, or the solar ruler of the Virgo solar chart. And this to me feels like you are supported to bring your gifts into the world when you are in relationship in ways that resonate with reciprocity, that have a kind of integrity to them that is spiritual and subtle. And so here I'm going back to, what does it feel like in your body? And this, again, is this kind of disruption. I think some of you are being really disrupted around your preferences and ideas of what you need and what you want. Again, especially when it comes to the programming of relationships, because a lot of you are recognizing that you had ideas about relationships, partnerships, collaborations, and you were like, oh, those are the kinds of people that I want to be in community with. These are the kinds of people that are my ideal partners. But maybe you've experienced that and you're like, I'm not feeling it. Like there's something on a subtle spiritual level that is being refined and informed for you right now. And so there may be a kind of like awakening that you're having, or a breakthrough that you're having, where you're like, oh, this quality of relationship that I'm recently starting to experience in more abundance, or this particular person that I never really thought, we'd be tight, but now we are, or like, it's like you're getting new information that is helping you feel that you can be in the world in ways that are more expansive and generous and generative, therefore creative, because you feel more belonging. And the counter side of that, the coin side of that, is that you're recognizing where you don't feel belonging, or where things are like, I don't really want to eat that. And so you're stopping or you're changing things. And this is really important. Okay, so the first week or so of Gemini season, it feels like, wow, okay, there's a lot of kind of development in who you are and who you are becoming. And this development in some ways might be concentrated in who you are in the world and what you're doing in this more external way. But if you really feel into it, I think what it is highly is development in your feeling, sensing body, and in the ways that you are increasingly attuned to your organic intelligence. And in that, how your relational vibe is shifting, and therefore then shifting the relational realm. Last couple days of May, I'm going to say like the 27th through the 31st, really powerful days for this. This feels like major breakthrough kinds of periods of time. Um, some of you are having wild conversations, particularly with partners, collaborators, significant others, or maybe strangers that you encounter and they say something and it's like your whole mind blows and it like rocks your world or something like that. Some of you are stumbling upon or returning to deeply resonant truths. You might be connecting with teachers or teachings, with philosophies, with life paths, with feelings of awakening that are moving in the direction of faith, right? Moving in the direction of belief that are completely shifting your idea about who you need to be, who you want to be in the world, and especially with other people, how you want to be showing up, what you are bringing to the table, what you want served to you at that table, again, what you are hungry for. Then we move into the month of June and we get everybody moving into Gemini. So Venus moved into Gemini back at the full moon on the 23rd of May. But as we get into the month of June, then Mercury is moving into Gemini. So now we have the Sun, Jupiter, Venus, and Mercury all in your 10th house, and we are moving towards a new moon on June 6th. Packed 10th house. If I was a Virgo identified person, I would use this new moon energy in the week leading up to it, in that first week of June. I would use that week to cut cords with projects, people, places, ideas that really had to do with like, who am I in the world? What am I doing with my life? What is the purpose of my life? Why am I here? What am I building? I would use that week to cut cords with ways I might be using my energy inappropriately. And what do I mean by inappropriate? I don't know. That's for your body to discern. You know what you're hungry for. You know if something on a subtle level doesn't feel like the thing. And then I would take that new moon energy. Okay, so from the new moon day on the 6th going into the next 2 weeks, until we get to the solstice and beginning of Cancer season, the 6th through the 20th, I would use those 2 weeks. This is also the growing lunar cycle, moving towards the full moon, first day of Cancer season, full moon in Capricorn. By the way, Capricorn is a very generative part of your chart. We'll talk about that next month. But these 2 weeks, from the 6th to the 20th, put it out there. What are you trying to get? What do you want? Who do you want to be? This is coming out energy. What are you coming out with, Virgo? Are you wanting to establish a new career for yourself? Are you wanting to take a stand in your family or community for something that you believe in? Do you need to speak up? Do you need to use your voice? Do you want to be influencing in some way? This is big leadership energy. And for Virgo, you are always in your right leadership when you are in service. And so, what are you in service to? If you're in service to brainwashing and programming, whatever, plenty of people are. But I don't think that's what you're hungry for. I think that you are hungry to be in service to your deep embodied knowing of what your values are. And your values, Virgo, are relational. Your values have to do with equity, justice, harmony, and beauty. Your values have to do with the beautiful potentiality of life on earth when people have their needs met. And in order for you to be in service to others having their needs met, you need to know what your needs are. And you need to be advocating for them, articulating for them, and just, not apologizing, right? Like holding them in your heart, not feeling shy or ashamed, and being bold about it. Okay, what else do I want to tell you? On the 13th of June, we have the second quarter beginning of the lunar cycle in your sign. 23 degrees of Virgo for those of you that mess around with more intermediate or advanced astrology, if you're thinking about degree points. And the day after that, on the 14th of June, we have a Mercury cazimi. This is Mercury and the Sun meeting up together in alignment in Gemini at 24 degrees. So, especially for those of you who have mutable sign placements, especially Virgo placements around the last, I don't know, like the middle to the last decan, from like 13 degrees until the end of the sign. So basically the last half of the sign. This will be an orb for you, but especially if you have placements around 23, 24, this is a really powerful moment. And when I'm saying like use this time to put something out there, literally, I don't know what it is. It could be anything. Maybe you are sending a letter to someone, right? Like it doesn't have to be some display of grandiosity. You don't have to be out there on social media. Fuck that. Like this is about you moving your energy into the world in ways that feel like they resonate very deeply in your body around your sense of personal integrity and truth, and that are nourishing for you, that feed you, that source you, and that resource you in your deep embodied knowing and intelligence. Embodied astrology is a great place to get support. I'm just going to say that. Like, we are a community, first of all. I mean, I'm doing this reading, but embodied astrology is a community. Um, we have a lot of different community offerings. We have a lot of different facilitators. And the whole point of what embodied astrology is doing is trying to expand astrology and make it accessible and effective for people to use in their own in their lives, in their strategies, in their, personal work and inner work, in their relationships, in the ways that we seek to shape and shift culture. And we have a lot of stuff going on all the time, but there's a couple things that I definitely want to let you know about. So I talked about this full moon right at the beginning of the season on the 23rd. Um, it's a couple of days before that. I'm trying to remember. I don't have the exact date in my mind right now, but if it's past, you can always do the recording. And I would say like do it on the 23rd. Janata Petrus is one of the embodied astrology facilitators. Every single month, she's holding a space called Artistic Alchemy that is about artisanship, but in life. Like, how do we live artistically in our lives? How do we claim creative praxis as life practice? And she offers these classes, these drop-in spaces near the full moon. Again, I know it's not on the 23rd. I can't remember the exact date. Embodiedastrology.com. You can get all the info, but I think it has already happened at this point. But I'm telling you, you could get the recording and do it with the full moon. And that's actually the time to do it because you want to be creative right now. And I think that there's something in this full moon axis of Gemini and Sagittarius in your chart that is really asking for creative up-leveling, especially as both the rulers are the emissaries of Jupiter and Sagittarius, Gemini and Sagittarius, Jupiter and Mercury are going to be coming into Gemini. And I think that this is a period of time of creative alchemy and transformation for you that is about rooting to rise and really like attuning with different ways of experiencing belonging and placemaking, right, in your own space first, but like inhabiting space so that you can have an effect out here. And I really want you to be thinking creatively about this. And I want you to think of yourself as an artist. I want you to think of yourself as a creator, Whether or not that resonates with what you think it is that you do, it doesn't matter what you do. You are alive in a body, and that means that you are part of creation and that you are creative. Every month, Junata is offering these full moon spaces. On the 21st of June, right after we get into Cancer season, she'll have another one for the Cancer Capricorn axis. Also, a really powerful axis for you. This is an axis that directly resonates with creative energy and how you are taking care of your own vitality in order to share in the world and with others. One of our facilitators, who is a Virgo and a Virgo rising, Sherry Taylor, is a phenomenal teacher. And it's really, because you're Virgo, right? So big resonance here. But her work with embodied astrology over the last couple of years has been working with the kind of retelling and the reimagining of myth, particularly the myth of Saturn. And you have Saturn in your seventh house right now. And the seventh house is the place of committed partnerships and relationships. It's also just where we meet other people in the world. And it's where we hold our notions of how and who we are relationally. And, it's where we should all over ourselves, right? Like, I should be like that. So relationships should be like this or something. And Saturn as an archetypal energy in a kind of like current mythic paradigm really relates a lot with like punitive, patriarchal, um, oppressive suppression and rigid rules and punishment and austerity and like, um, you know, is not particularly juicy. But if you go back into the myths of Saturn, you find myths that are juicy, that are actually about hydration, about deities that come from the sea and, move on to land to create civilization and then go back at night to sleep in the sea. And they're always very similar to Mercury, right? Like moving between the land of the dream and the land of consciousness. And Sherry has been working with Saturn as a deeply feminine mythology and thinking about the kind of feminine intelligence and, people who identify as masculine can also identify as feminine, right? And access feminine intelligence. It's like not just for some of us, it's for everybody. So, and that's exactly what the intelligence is, right? Like this kind of relational intelligence, communal intelligence that there is thriving and balance and peace and beauty on earth when everybody is taken care of and has what they need. And so how do we account for that? How do we do the work of holding ourselves accountable to our needs, and to working in reciprocity and dedication and devotion to tending the needs of the world around us? And I think that, Sherry's work could be really supportive especially for those of you who are working to reclaim your energy, right? And like really come into devotional practice with yourself as a means of opening space for more vibrant relationships that, serve you in the deep ways that you want them to. And then we also have another series that's working with Pisces with your opposite sign, which is the Nebula Lab with Gabs 404. Gabs is an artist and an astrologer based in Brazil. And a lot of their work is kind of dealing with the imaginal and how do we dissolve reality so that we can reconstruct it. And Neptune has been in your opposite sign for a long time, since 2011. And next year, it's starting to leave. It's starting to move into Aries. And Saturn is going with it. And this period of time in collective astrology is a time of massive disillusion, of dissolving, and reality becoming weirder and weirder and stranger so that it can reform and reshape. And we can be part of that. And we're all contributing multidimensionally, but one of the places where Virgo identified people are contributing really profoundly is in the area of relationship and in the area of exchange. And so I want to invite you to check out Gab's work as a place where you can go literally be an artist, work with photography and image making, but also be a world builder, and work in community with people thinking about what could the world look like if, fill in the blank. What could the world look like if everybody had their needs met? What would the world look like for you if all of your needs were met? I mean, imagine that for a minute. Like, if all of your needs were met, what would you do every day? How would you come to relationships? How would you expect others to come to you, right? If all of your needs were met, you didn't need anything from them, what would be possible? Go paint that picture. Um, so over the course of the whole year, we've got lots of stuff going on. We are initiating a research project with Embodied Astrology beginning in June. That is a forecasting project for folks who are involved in movement organizing. A lot of you Virgos are really thinking about, solidarity, organizing, activism in your various ways. And we want to use astrology to help support folks who are doing this really necessary work. And this is a participatory research project. If you want to get involved, you can check the link in the show notes. Everything is at embodiedastrology.com. Virgo, I'm wishing you all the best in Gemini season and beyond. Bye for now.